In the gleaming towers of Manhattan's Diamond District, where fortunes in precious stones change hands with handshakes and whispered conversations, security is everything. The newest player in this exclusive world was Meridian Gemstone Brokerage, a boutique firm that had secured the entire 44th floor of a prestigious midtown high-rise. Their business model was simple yet lucrative. Acquire uncut precious stones from international sources, provide expert appraisal services, and facilitate discreet private auctions for wealthy collectors who preferred to conduct their transactions away from the scrutiny of traditional auction houses. Before we dive into the full story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. The firm's crown jewel was to be a state-of-the-art vault system capable of storing millions of dollars in uncut gems while providing the kind of security that would satisfy both insurance companies and paranoid billionaires. After months of research and competitive bidding, Meridian had selected Titan Security Systems to design and install their custom vault solution. Titan's reputation was impeccable. They had secured installations in major banks, government facilities, and private collections throughout the Northeast. What Meridian's executives didn't realize was that they had become the target of one of the most sophisticated and audacious heists in gemstone industry history, orchestrated by individuals who understood that sometimes the best way to rob a vault is to be the ones installing it. The planning for this operation had begun nearly 18 months before Meridian Gemstone Brokerage even existed as a company. Intelligence sources would later reveal that the perpetrators had been monitoring the New York gemstone market, waiting for the right opportunity, a new firm, a custom vault installation, and most importantly, a window of vulnerability between when valuable cargo would be delivered and when final security protocols would be activated. Titan Security Systems had indeed been awarded the Meridian contract, but they had followed their standard practice of subcontracting the actual installation work to specialized crews. This decision, while common in the industry, would prove to be the critical vulnerability that the thieves exploited. The subcontractor that emerged to claim the job was Precision Safe Installers Incorporated, a company that appeared legitimate on paper, but existed solely to facilitate this single devastating crime. Leo Markham presented himself as the company's lead technician, a veteran of the security installation industry with 15 years of experience and impeccable references. At 38, he possessed the kind of technical expertise and professional demeanor that inspired confidence in clients and supervisors alike. His assistant, Rico Valdez, was 29 and supposedly new to the specialized vault installation field, but eager to learn from an experienced mentor. The third member of their crew was introduced simply as a trainee, a young man whose identity would later prove to be completely fabricated. The documentation supporting Precision Safe Installers Incorporated was masterfully crafted. Business registration records showed a 5-year operating history with previous contracts at smaller financial institutions and private residences. Professional references provided glowing testimonials about the quality of their work and their reliability in handling sensitive security installations. Even their liability insurance appeared to be legitimate, issued by a well-known commercial insurer that confirmed coverage for high-value installations. What Titan Security Systems didn't discover during their vetting process was that Precision Safe Installers Incorporated had no physical business location beyond a post office box in Newark, New Jersey. Their phone number was routed through a voice-over internet protocol service that could be accessed from anywhere in the world. The company's website featured professional photography of vault installations that had actually been completed by legitimate contractors, appropriated through careful research and digital manipulation. Most significantly, the 3 individuals comprising the installation crew were operating under carefully constructed false identities. Leo Markham's social security number belonged to a real person who had died in a construction accident 7 years earlier. Rico Valdez was using the identity of a man who had been killed in a car crash in Texas and whose death had not been properly reported to federal databases. The trainee's identification was completely synthetic, created using sophisticated document forgery techniques that would pass casual inspection but wouldn't survive detailed law enforcement scrutiny. The vault installation project at Meridian Gemstone Brokerage was scheduled to take place over a 3-week period in late October and early November. The work involved removing a section of the building's structural floor, installing reinforced concrete foundations, positioning a custom-built vault assembly weighing nearly 12 tons, and integrating biometric access controls with the building's Existing security systems. Meridian's executives had planned their business operations around the vault's completion schedule. Their first major acquisition, $20 million in uncut diamonds, rubies, and sapphires sourced from mines in Africa and South America, was scheduled to arrive just 2 days before the vault's final sealing and activation. This timing was crucial for their business model, as holding valuable stones in temporary storage facilities was both expensive and risky. The gemstone shipment arrived at Meridian's offices on Friday afternoon, November 8th, transported by Brink's armored car service and accompanied by armed guards and detailed chain of custody documentation. The stones were temporarily secured in a conventional office safe while awaiting transfer to the new vault system, which was scheduled for biometric activation the following Monday morning. This 36-hour window represented the critical vulnerability that the thieves had been waiting to exploit. The vault was physically complete and capable of secure storage, but its electronic access controls had not yet been activated. Access to the vault's interior still required only the mechanical keys and combination codes used during the installation process, information that the precision safe installers crew possessed as part of their legitimate installation responsibilities. The heist began on Sunday evening, November 10th, when Leo Markham contacted Meridian's weekend security supervisor to request access for what he described as a final alignment check on the vault's locking mechanism. Such requests were routine during complex installations, and the security supervisor had no reason to question the legitimacy of work being performed by Titan's Security Systems' approved subcontractor. Building access logs recorded the three-man crew entering the premises at 8:47 p.m., using vendor passes that had been issued by building management for the duration of the installation project. They arrived in a panel van bearing Precision Safe Installers professional signage and carried equipment cases containing what appeared to be sophisticated diagnostic and calibration tools. The crew's first action was to disable the interior security cameras on the 44th floor, citing safety concerns related to welding work that would be required for the vault's final adjustments. This was a standard procedure that had been followed during previous phases of the installation, and building security approved the temporary camera shutdown without question. With visual surveillance eliminated, the crew had unrestricted access to Meridian's offices and, most importantly, to the vault that they had spent 3 weeks installing. Using their intimate knowledge of the vault's construction and access mechanisms, they opened the inner chamber and began the systematic removal of Meridian's entire gemstone inventory. The uncut stones were particularly valuable targets for thieves because they lacked the serial numbers, certificates, and documentation that made cut gems easier to trace. Raw diamonds, rubies, and sapphires could be processed by skilled craftsmen into finished jewelry that would be virtually impossible to identify as stolen property. The international market for uncut gems operated with minimal oversight, making it relatively easy to convert stolen stones into untraceable assets. The crew's method for removing the stones was as audacious as it was simple. They loaded the gems into their equipment cases, which were designed to carry heavy tools and electronic devices used in vault installations. To any observer, they would appear to be removing installation equipment rather than stealing millions of dollars in precious stones. The physical removal of $20 million worth of uncut gems required careful planning and execution. The stones varied dramatically in size and weight, from tiny diamonds weighing less than a carat to massive raw sapphires that could exceed 50 carats each. The crew had prepared specialized containers within their equipment cases, designed to secure the stones during transport while maintaining the appearance of legitimate installation tools. Perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of the theft was the crew's efforts to conceal evidence of their crime. After removing the gemstones, they carefully reassembled the vault's interior fixtures and closed the chamber, leaving no obvious signs that anything had been disturbed. The vault appeared to be in exactly the same condition as when they had arrived, complete and ready for Monday morning's biometric activation. Building security logs recorded the crew's departure at 3:15 a.m. on Monday morning. The security supervisor noted that their exit was calm and professional, with no unusual behavior or suspicious circumstances. The equipment cases that now contained $20 million in stolen gems appeared to be the same tools and devices that had been brought into the building 6 hours earlier. The discovery of the theft didn't occur until Monday morning, when Meridian's executives arrived to oversee the vault's final activation. The biometric access system was installed and tested successfully, with company officials receiving the security codes that would provide exclusive access to their new storage facility. It was only when the vault was opened to transfer the gemstone inventory from its temporary storage that the crime was discovered. The vault's interior was completely empty, with no signs of forced entry or structural damage. The theft had been executed with such precision that it took several minutes for the victims to understand what had occurred. Meridian's initial assumption was that there had been some confusion about the gemstone delivery schedule or storage procedures. They contacted Brink's Armored Car Service to confirm the Friday delivery, verified the chain of custody documentation, and checked with their insurance company about possible coverage issues. Only when all of these inquiries confirmed that the stones had indeed been delivered and properly secured did the company contact law enforcement. The New York Police Department's initial investigation focused on conventional theories about the theft. Detectives examined the possibility of an inside job involving Meridian employees, considered whether the building's security staff might have been compromised, and investigated potential connections to organized crime groups known to operate in the Diamond District. The breakthrough came when investigators contacted Titan Security Systems to verify the installation crew's credentials and work schedule. Titan's records showed that they had completed the Meridian installation on the previous Wednesday and had no authorized personnel working at the site over the weekend. Further investigation revealed that Precision Safe Installers Incorporated was a completely fictitious company. The business address was a mail forwarding service, the phone number was disconnected, and the website had been taken offline immediately after the theft was discovered. The insurance documentation that had appeared legitimate during the vetting process was sophisticated forgery that would have fooled even experienced security professionals. The FBI's investigation revealed the extraordinary sophistication of the operation. The perpetrators had created an entire false identity for their company, complete with business records, professional references, and financial documentation that would pass detailed scrutiny. They had invested months in establishing credibility within the security installation industry, networking with legitimate contractors, and building relationships that would provide access to high-value targets. The rental van used by the crew was traced to a vehicle leasing company in New Jersey, where it had been rented using false identification and paid for with cash. The van was discovered abandoned in a long-term parking facility at Newark International Airport, thoroughly cleaned to eliminate physical evidence and stripped of any identifying materials. Forensic analysis of the Meridian offices and vault installation site yielded minimal useful evidence. The crew had been careful to wear gloves throughout their work, and any fingerprints or DNA evidence had been contaminated by weeks of legitimate installation activity. The only potential lead was a partial image captured by a building security camera in the lobby, showing what appeared to be a distinctive tattoo on one crew member's wrist. The tattoo image, though of poor quality, displayed characteristics that suggested possible Eastern European origin. FBI analysts noted similarities to symbols associated with organized crime groups that operated in the international gem trade, particularly networks that specialized in moving stolen precious stones between Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Intelligence sources indicated that the theft might have been commissioned by overseas buyers who had prearranged to purchase the stolen gems. This theory suggested that the Meridian heist was not an opportunistic crime, but rather a carefully planned operation designed to acquire specific types of uncut stones for clients who were willing to pay premium prices for untraceable gems. The international scope of the investigation expanded when Interpol reported similar vault installation frauds in London, Geneva, and Hong Kong over the previous 2 years. In each case, sophisticated criminals had posed as legitimate security contractors to gain access to high-value storage facilities during vulnerable installation periods. The pattern suggested a highly organized criminal enterprise that specialized in exploiting vulnerabilities in the security installation industry. The financial impact of the theft extended far beyond the immediate loss of the $20 million in stolen gems. Meridian Gemstone Brokerage was forced to declare bankruptcy within 6 months, unable to recover from the combination of stolen inventory, canceled insurance coverage, and lost client confidence. The company's collapse affected dozens of employees and disrupted relationships with international gem suppliers who had invested years in developing the business partnership. Insurance litigation continued for nearly 3 years as companies attempted to determine liability for the theft. Meridian's policy included coverage for theft and burglary, but the insurance company argued that the crime had been facilitated by the victim's failure to properly verify their contractor's credentials. Titan Security Systems faced multiple lawsuits claiming negligent supervision of subcontractors, while building management was accused of inadequate security protocols. The case prompted significant changes in industry security practices. Vault installation companies now require biometric verification of all personnel before valuable cargo is delivered to new storage facilities. Security firms have implemented enhanced background screening procedures for subcontractors, including real-time verification of business licenses and professional credentials. The gemstone industry adopted new protocols for managing high-value inventory during vault installation periods. Temporary storage requirements now mandate that valuable stones remain in fully secured facilities until permanent storage systems are completely operational, including all electronic and biometric access controls. Law enforcement agencies develop new intelligence sharing protocols to track individuals and organizations involved in security installation fraud. The FBI created a specialized task force dedicated to investigating crimes that exploit vulnerabilities in the security industry itself, recognizing that traditional approaches to theft prevention were inadequate against criminals who understood security systems from the inside. Despite extensive investigation by federal, state, and international law enforcement agencies, none of the perpetrators involved in the Meridian heist have been identified or arrested. The sophisticated false identities used by the crew proved to be so well constructed that investigators were unable to determine their real names or backgrounds. The stolen gemstones have never surfaced in legitimate markets, suggesting that they were either processed immediately into finished jewelry or moved through underground networks that operate completely outside legal oversight. Intelligence analysts believe that stones of this value and rarity would likely have been pre-sold to private collectors who were willing to acquire stolen gems without asking questions about their provenance. Agent Patricia Russo, who led the FBI's investigation, noted that the Meridian case represented a new evolution in sophisticated theft operations. The perpetrators had demonstrated understanding not only of security systems in gemstone markets, but also of business operations, legal procedures, and human psychology. Their ability to operate successfully within legitimate business structures while maintaining complete criminal anonymity suggested professional-level training and extensive experience. The case study became required reading at law enforcement academies and security industry conferences, illustrating how traditional approaches to crime prevention could be circumvented by criminals who understood the systems they were attacking. The Meridian heist demonstrated that the greatest security vulnerabilities often existed not in the technology or physical barriers, but in the human trust and institutional procedures that made complex business operations possible. For the security installation industry, the case prompted fundamental changes in how contractors are verified and supervised. Companies now require continuous monitoring of installation crews, real-time verification of personnel credentials, and immediate activation of security systems upon completion of physical installation work. The Meridian gemstone brokerage heist remains one of the most sophisticated and successful thefts in the history of the precious stones industry. The perpetrators' understanding of security systems, business operations, and human psychology allowed them to execute a crime that netted $20 million while leaving virtually no evidence and no credible leads for law enforcement to pursue. The case serves as a sobering reminder that in an interconnected business environment where companies routinely rely on contractors and subcontractors, the greatest security threats may come not from external criminal organizations, but from individuals who exploit the trust and legitimacy that make complex business relationships possible. The men who walked away with $20 million in uncut gems succeeded not by breaking into a vault, but by convincing their victims to hand them the keys.